Hello, everyone. Welcome to yoga. Today's class is going to be a full moon flow. So the date is April 7th, 2020. We have a full moon in Libra and the sun is in Aries. So in addition to all of the things going on in the world right now, there's this like fire energy with this air energy causing us to feel maybe a little bit ungrounded and a little bit emotional. So today's flow is going to really focus on the legs and rooting down into the floor, and also kind of channeling more of the element of water to find some ease to support us through our effort of the movement. You don't need anything for this practice. If you have a strap or a towel, you might want it next to your mat. We will use it at the end for some stretches for the legs. Thank you for joining me, and let's get started. Okay. So we'll start seated on our mats in any comfortable position. You can sit with the legs crossed or tucked underneath you or extended out in front of you. And if you want the lights to be a little bit low, we're kind of filming this in the middle of the day, so that's maybe not as possible, but we'll begin to close the eyes and start to focus our attention inward, and beginning with the breath. So just bringing some attention to your body and your breath. And my intention for today's class, so today we actually have a full moon, and there isn't a whole lot of there's no science that says the full moon affects our body in this way, but it's kind of like the subtle energy of the body, which yoga sort of works on as well. And during the full moon time, you might notice a little bit more energy or more trouble sleeping, or we kind of just feel almost like we're floating in space a little bit. And it also doesn't help. So this particular full moon is in the zodiac sign of Libra. Hi, Deborah. Which is also an air sign, but it's kind of associated with love and communication and balance and all these things that we're sort of missing now anyway. So it might heighten any uneasy emotions that you have. So for this class, we're really going to be focusing on grounding our energy, some really nice hip openers, and just staying closer to the floor and trying to release some of that tension and extra energy from the full moon. And so as you're breathing, thinking about that connection to your sit bones to the floor, and letting your shoulders drop down and away from your ears. And then on a nice deep inhale, we'll reach our arms around and up, watching the palms touch overhead, and then drawing the hands down to the center of the chest, taking a moment to set an intention for your practice. And it doesn't have to be something large and grand. And then as you exhale, releasing your hands down, releasing that intention out into the world. We'll keep our left hand down and inhale, reach your right arm up and over, taking a bend into the side body here. And then inhale up through center and over to the other side. So thinking of this motion as never ending. So as soon as you reach over towards one side, you already start moving back in the other direction. And whichever shoulder is on top, so now my left shoulder is over, I'm trying to open it up and look underneath without pushing or pulling. And then one more time back over to the right side. And then up through the middle. We'll take our hands down actually, and if you were sitting with your legs crossed, let's cross in the other direction for the sake of being even. We'll inhale to reach the hands up, interlacing through your fingers. Press out and away. Open through your chest. Maybe find a little bit of a back bend here, and then exhale, draw your chin in towards your chest. Press your hands out and away from you, feeling your shoulder blades move away from each other as well. Inhale to reach back up. And then exhale, chin to chest. And one more time, inhale up. And then exhale, round forward. And let's release the hands down in front of us and just round forward here. Your hands can come to wherever is comfortable, not forcing your body into a stretch, but just think of melting into the earth, releasing the tension through the neck, through the shoulders. And take one more deep breath here. Let's walk the hands back in towards the hips, stacking the spine, roll the shoulders back and down. We'll sweep the legs around and back, coming into an all fours position here. Pressing your palms down, knees are underneath the hips. Moving through our cat and cow, inhale to let the belly drop, look up. Exhale to press the ground away, tuck your chin in towards your chest. And then moving at your own pace and kind of feeling if your body needs to move forward or side to side. We're all a little bit different depending on how you slept last night and what you did yesterday and how much water you drank. So just kind of explore where your spine is at today. And then let's come back to the center here and really push into the floor. So you should start to feel a little bit more activation through your shoulders and feel like you're pushing your knees into the ground as well, so your lower abdominals engage. Take the right leg and reach the foot out behind you. And let's keep both hands grounded to start. We're going to lift the leg up to hip height and then tap it down. And lift and lower and 3 and 2. And then hold it up there. Now, if you'd like to, you can take your opposite hand, your left hand, and reach it down to the ground, or maybe let it float up by your ear, and feel your wrist and your ankle moving away from each other in opposite directions. Lengthen, lengthen. And then exhale slowly, like you're moving through mud. Draw the knee and the elbow together, and then press out. And so think you're moving through some resistance, push the floor away, and then inhale to lengthen, finding our center line of the body. One more time, in, and then reach out. And let's set the left hand down, and we'll take our right leg and cross it behind us and over to the left side, looking over your left shoulder to your heel, and finding a stretch through the right side of the body. And then let's come back to center, bring both knees down. We'll sit back into our child's pose for a moment. So the hips come back onto the heels, the hands reach out in front of you, forehead reaches down towards the mat. And trying to find places where you can surrender more. So letting go more through your low back, more through your shoulders, more through the neck. On your next inhale, gently bringing yourself back into your all fours position. Going to the left leg reaching out long behind us. Both hands stay grounded onto the mat. And then take your leg and lift it up just to hip height and then lower down. Keeping your abdominals drawing in so there's no tilting through the low back or through the hips. And one more time, lift and hold the leg there and reach out like you're trying to press your foot onto a wall behind you. Right hand reaches out and down towards the mat. And then maybe lifting it up so we have one long line like you're trying to press your back onto the ceiling. And then as you exhale, draw your elbow and your knee together, rounding in. And then inhale, lengthen, like you're pushing your arm and your leg through something that is resisting you. So like mud or like peanut butter or whatever you want to imagine. Let's do 2 more. using your breath, exhaling as you come in, inhaling as you're lengthening. And last one. Inhale, reach. And then set your hand down, take your left leg and reach it over to the right side, looking over your right shoulder to your heel. And breathe deeply, feeling the ribs on the left side of the body expand. And then let's come back to center here. So we have our knees down, fingers are spread nice and wide. Let's tuck the toes under. Hover the knees just an inch or so off the ground. So we're stretching through the calves, stretching through the bottoms of the feet. We're strengthening through the abdominals. And then start to shift your hips back over your heels, coming into a really crouched down dog. So your knees are bent even more than they ever would be in down dog. And we'll start to straighten out through just the right leg, keeping your left knee really bent, thinking about the top of your thigh touching your abdominals. Pushing into your hands, breathe here, reach the right heel towards the ground. It doesn't need to touch. And then switch, bend really deeply into your right knee and reach your left heel down towards the floor. Finding your breath here. And then starting to switch from side to side, pedaling out. On an inhale, look up between your thumbs and start to take that pedal into a step and a walk forward, bringing your feet towards your hands until we end up in our forward fold. And once you're at the top of the mat in your forward fold, soften through your knees. You can let your hands hang heavy towards the floor and shake your head yes and no. Feeling like your head is a heavy weight that's helping to lengthen your whole spine, reaching your head, imagining one day the crown of your head will touch the floor. And then feel heavy through your sit bones, through your legs. We're going to roll up one vertebra at a time, slowly coming all the way up. Nice and tall. We'll inhale, reach our hands around and up, watching your palms touch overhead, and then drawing your hands down to the center of the chest. Taking a moment to return to your intention and really feel rooted and grounded through the feet and feel like that's helping to draw energy up into the body. On an inhale, we'll reach the hands around and up, look up, press the hips slightly forward, and then exhale, fold forward and down. Inhaling to halfway lift. And then exhaling to fold forward and down, bringing the hands down. Let's step the left leg back behind us and lower the knee down towards the mat, coming into a low lunge or Anjaneyasana. Inhale to reach your hands up nice and tall, pressing down through both of the feet. And then exhale, releasing your hands down on either side of the foot. And let's just straighten out through this leg and then bend. And the leg doesn't have to be completely straight, just kind of whatever works for you. And then press into the right foot, forward and down, hands on either side of the foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee. And then step back into your plank position. So pushing the ground away, feeling your shoulder blades connected to your back, feeling your abdominals lifted. You could always come down to the knees here and hold here. Taking one more deep breath. And then you can lower the knees or keep them lifted. We're going to lower all the way down onto our bellies here. And hold here at the bottom. So you're resting all the way down. Your hands are still kind of tucked in by your sides like grasshopper legs. Reaching out through your toes and then inhale to lift your chest up. The bottom ribs are still staying down on the mat. And then exhale, lower. And inhale, lift, draw the shoulder blades together, look up, reach out through your toes more to make space for your shoulder blades. And then lower. And one more time, inhale, lift. And lower. Hands are underneath your shoulders. You can ground through the knees. I'm going to walk my knees in a little bit closer. Feel the abdominals engage. And then press back through your modified plank or your full plank. Tuck the toes under and lift the hips back to downward facing dog. You are also welcome to hold in child's pose instead of down dog. Finding your breath here, noticing your heart rate. On an inhale, taking your right leg up towards the ceiling. And then draw the knee in towards the nose and step the foot forward. And wherever it lands is okay. You can use the other hand to help you. So we're in that same side lunge that we were when we started. You can lower your back knee or keep it lifted. We're going to inhale, reach the arms up here. And we're going to work on opening through the upper back. So you're going to inhale, reach tall. You can lengthen out, straighten through the legs as well. And then exhale, bend the elbows, bend into the front knee, open through the chest. And then inhale, reach, lengthen, open. And then exhale, pull and look up towards the ceiling. 2 more times. Inhale, reach. Exhale, pull. And then 1 more time. Inhale, reach. And exhale, pull. And then reach your hands down on either side of the foot, stepping both feet to the front of the mat, Uttanasana, forward fold. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. And then we'll slowly bend into the knees and roll up 1 vertebra at a time until finally your shoulders stack and then your head. Inhaling to reach your hands up, palms touch, and then come down to the center of the chest. Good. So root down through our feet. Inhale, reach your hands up, and I want you to take your hands. So we're not going to bend the knees. I'm just doing that so you can see what my arms are doing. You're going to be interlacing and pointing out through your index fingers. So our palms are touching. And then bending over to one side, push out through the opposite hip, breathe. And then inhale up through center, reach, lengthen. And then over to the other side. And so this is our crescent moon shape. And inhale up through center. Lengthen, get as tall as you can. Imagine more space between each vertebra of your spine. And then exhale, fold forward and down, reaching the hands down towards the mat. Okay, other leg. Right leg is going to step back this time. So you have our left leg forward. Lower your back knee down for our Anjaneyasana. Untuck the back toes. And then inhale, reach your hands up nice and tall. And so for this first one, we're just focused on centering, on pressing down into the knees, on engaging through the abdominals and feeling a stretch through the hip flexors on the right side. Exhale, release the hands down on either side of your foot. Tuck the back toes and step back to your plank position. So finding your shoulder blades engaged along your spine, pushing into the floor, feeling your inner thighs draw together. And then you can lower the knees or keep them lifted. We're going to lower all the way down to our bellies again. And so this time you have the option to take it a little bit further into more of a locust pose and get more opening through the chest. So you can take your hands behind your back, interlace them. Deep breath in, let it go. And then on your next inhale, lifting up, pressing into your hands, reaching out through your toes, looking out in front of you. And then as you exhale, you can bend your elbows, turn your head to one side, release the feet down. Take a deep breath. On your next inhale, reach your hands long behind you, lift up, look out in front, reach out through your toes, pull the shoulders down the back. And then bend the elbows, release the feet, turn your head to look in the opposite direction. Taking a deep breath in, let it go, and then use your next inhale to lift yourself back up, reach long, point out through the toes, shoulders down the back, and then release, unclasp the hands, bring them back underneath your shoulders, walk your knees in a little bit so you can connect to your abdominals, kind of like a little inchworm. You're lifted through your hips, and then press the ground away, back up through your modified plank or full plank, and then back to our downward facing dog to hold here. Really pressing down through each of your fingers, and especially through the index finger, and feeling the outside of your shoulder engaged. So your lat should be engaged the whole time, helping to rotate your arm into the socket. On an inhale, taking the left leg up towards the ceiling, reaching it long behind you. Draw the knee in towards the nose, step the foot between the hands, and you can keep the back knee lifted or you can lower it down. We'll inhale to reach our hands up, coming into our crescent lunge here. And so we'll reach up, you can straighten through your front leg, and then as you exhale, bend the elbows, bend the knees, look up towards the ceiling, open through the chest, and then push away, lengthen. About 3 more like that. So pull open, look up, and then press everything away. Feel your abdominals draw in, and 2, and reach, and 1, and reach. And then bend into your front knee, bring your hands down on either side of your foot. We'll step both feet to the top of the mat, Uttanasana, forward fold. Grabbing elbow to elbow here, finding your ragdoll position. Let your weight come even more into your toes rather than the heels, and just sway side to side. And then release the hands down. Start to slowly roll up, 1 vertebra at a time. And then we'll roll the shoulders down and back. Inhale, reach the hands up. And then palms come together at the center of the chest. Okay, so now we're going to move into our moon salutations, which are a little bit different than our sun salutations. So we'll start in Tadasana, our mountain pose at the top of the mat. Have our hands down by our sides, shoulders rolling down and back, and feel really tall, so standing tall like a mountain. And then on an inhale, reach your hands up overhead, our upward salute. And then we're actually going to step out to the long edge of your mat, so you're going to turn to your side. And go into a goddess squat. So you'll have your heels in and your toes slightly out, and then we'll bend our elbows and our knees and sit down low here. And we'll take that a couple more times. So just inhale, reach up, and exhale, elbows pull into your sides, knees bend out to the sides. Inhale, and exhale. 1 more time, reach up, and then pull everything down. Hold here, maybe sway a little bit from side to side, loosening up through your hips. Let the shoulders roll down. Okay, and now we're going to reach our arms back up, straighten out through the legs. So this is our star position. We're a 5-pointed star if you count your head. And let's turn our left toes to the back of the mat and turn your right toes slightly in. We're going to be moving into triangle pose. So left toes are facing back, right toes are facing forward, and then float over and down. So one hand's down, one hand is up, and then it's just our regular triangle pose. Breathing here and thinking about grounding. So trying to relax through the shoulders and just focus on pushing through the feet. On your inhale, let's lift ourselves back up nice and tall. We'll put the hands on the hips and pivot into a pyramid pose. So now our hips are square over our left leg, and our feet are a little bit closer facing in kind of the same direction. And then fold forward and over your legs. So you can bring your hands down to your shin or the ground. Taking one more deep breath here. And then bend into this left knee as much as you need to get your hands onto the ground. And we're going to lower down into our Anjaneyasana on this side. So our back knee is down, our left foot is on the ground. And then inhale, reach your hands up, open. And then exhale, as you bring the hands down, let's bring them both on the inside of the left leg. So it's kind of like our lizard position here. Tuck your back toes, lift the knee, and then start to pivot your body back towards the long edge of your mat. So we're in this side lunge position now, our Skandasana. And you can hold here, or you can be lower to the ground if that's comfortable, as long as it doesn't bother your knees or your hips or anything. Take one more deep breath here. Okay, and now we're going to meet into the middle and kind of walk our feet in together a little bit. So we start on this wide-legged forward fold, heel toe the feet in, and sit down into our Malasana. And again, this can be kind of more up here if that works better for your body. Good. And so now this is going to flow kind of like a circle backwards and in the opposite direction. So we'll press the ground away, straighten through the legs, heel toe the feet out to the side. Going into our side lunge on the opposite leg. So bending into your right knee and sitting down low or just halfway. And we're going to go through this probably one or two more times, just like we do a sun salutation, so it'll start to flow, feel a little bit more juicy the second time around. Okay, and then lowering down and pivoting, so now we're facing towards the right leg, lowering your back knee down, coming into our Anjaneyasana. And we'll inhale, reach our hands up. And then exhale, bring the hands down, tuck the back toe under, lift the knee, and walk the foot in for your pyramid position. So it's going to be in nice and close, and then adjust your hands to wherever you can find a flat back. And it's okay if you have a little bit of a bend through the knee. We'll bring our hands to our hips, and then on an inhale, lift yourself all the way up nice and tall, walking your left leg out, making our way into triangle with the right foot forward. So your hand comes down, left arm comes up. And then inhale to stand up nice and tall, turning our feet, and we'll come back into that 5-pointed star position. And then we'll start back the way we came towards the front of the mat. We'll step both of our feet together, palms come up overhead, and then draw down to the center of the chest, letting your shoulders roll back and down, taking a couple of deep breaths. And so trying to think of like the moon is associated with water and controls our tides, and water is associated with the quality of ease. So water has a lot of force, but it just kind of gradually wears away at things over time. So trying to channel that as we move through this second round, and thinking about where you can find the ease in each of the movements. So we'll start with our hands down by our sides for Tadasana, our mountain pose. And then on an inhale, reach your hands all the way up, upward salute. And then we'll step open to the long edge of our mat, turning our toes out, heels in, bending elbows and knees, coming into our goddess squat. Inhale, reach the hands up, coming into our star. We're going to turn our right foot in and our left foot out, moving into our triangle on the left side. Deep breath here. And then on an inhale, lifting yourself up, bringing the hands to the hips, pivoting into your pyramid position, and then folding forward and down to whatever your level is. Inhale here. Exhale, let it go. Bending into your left knee as much as you need to get the hands on the ground. Walk the foot back, coming into our low lunge, or Anjaneyasana. We'll inhale, reach the hands up, rooting down to rise up. And then as you exhale, release the hands on the inside of the foot. Think like a lizard position. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and pivot the body, coming into our side lunge position, so you can be lifted or lowered. Taking a deep breath here, and if you're lowered down, maybe thinking about grounding even further and reaching your hands out in front of you, opening up through the inner thighs. And then wherever you are, start to walk your hands back in. We're going to push up through center, finding a wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold a little bit here. Think of pulling the crown of your head towards the mat. On an inhale, lifting back up, heel toe the feet in towards each other, keeping the feet turned out slightly, and then coming into our yogi squat or our malasana. So your hips can go down almost all the way to the mat, or you can hold halfway if that's more comfortable for your knees and your hips. And thinking about a nice long spine. And then reaching your hands down, straightening through the legs, sending the hips back up to the ceiling, heel toe the feet out to the side. Take one full round of breath here in your forward fold, wide-legged. And then walk your hands over towards your right leg, coming into our side lunge here. So it can be low side lunge, or you can be a little bit more lifted. And if it felt good on the other side, walking your hands out in front of you and finding a deeper stretch through the inner thighs. Slowly walking the hands back in towards your body, pivoting, turning to our Anjaneyasana, lowering the back knee down. And then we'll inhale to reach the hands up, sending the hips forward and down, looking up. And then exhale, release the hands down, one on either side of the foot, tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and then step that foot in a little bit. So adjust to wherever your hands need to be for your pyramid, then adjust your feet. Thinking about squaring off through the hips, so drawing the right hip back as you draw the left hip forward. On your next inhale, bringing the hands to the hips and slowly lifting yourself up to stand. We'll walk this back foot out, moving into triangle on our right side. Hand comes forward and down, left hand reaches up. And then inhale to stand up nice and tall, turning our feet back into that star position. We're going to go into our goddess squat again. So our heels are in, toes are out. Bend the elbows and the knees. And then inhale, lengthen. Okay, so this time I want us to start in the opposite direction. So we're going to be facing probably away from each other, just to kind of even out the body because we've been sort of twisting in one direction. So take a moment here in your mountain pose. Deep breath. And then inhale, reach the hands up towards the ceiling. And then we'll exhale, step out to the side into our star position. Good. We'll bend the knees, coming into our goddess squat. And then reach up, lengthen out into our star position. So we're going to start opposite. We're going to basically come back the way we just came. So you'll turn your right leg out and your left toes are facing the long edge of your mat, moving through your triangle. Imagining there's a wall behind you can lean into. Breathe. On an inhale, lift yourself back up, bringing your hands to your hips. pivoting the feet for our pyramid position and probably walking your foot in. Inhale to lengthen out, and then exhale to fold forward, and thinking about rooting down through your feet. So not worrying about where the stretch is, but trying to find that grounded sensation, pressing through your big toes. And then bending this knee as much as you need to bring the hands down to the ground, coming into our Anjaneyasana, our low lunge. Back knee lowers down. Inhale, reach the hands up. And then as you exhale, release the hands down on the inside of the foot, like our lizard position. We'll tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and start to pivot into our side lunge here. And you can be lifted, or maybe after doing this a few times on each side, you feel more comfortable dropping down, maybe walking forward. Take one more deep breath wherever you are. And then walk the hands back in towards your hips. Push down, lift up through center, wide-legged forward fold. Feet are parallel or slightly pigeon-toed. Folding forward, maybe grabbing the outsides of the legs. Releasing the hands down underneath the shoulders, heel toe the feet in a little bit closer, coming into our Malasana or our yogi squat. Palms pressed together, rooting down through your sit bones and lengthening through the crown of the head. And you could kind of think of this as like the stillness in the middle, like the quiet in the storm. And then releasing your hands down, straightening out through the legs, heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Walking over to our left side for our side lunge. And you can walk your hands out in front of you, find whatever feels good. One more deep breath. And then walking the hands back in towards the hips. We're going to pivot here into our Anjaneyasana, our low lunge, lowering your back knee down. Inhale to reach the hands up. And then exhale, one hand down on either side of the foot. Tuck the toes, straighten out through both legs, walk them in a little bit closer for our pyramid position. Pulling left hip back and right hip forward. And then finding your stretch. Shoulder blades drawing down the back, rooting down through the feet. Bringing the hands to the hips and slowly lifting yourself all the way up, nice and tall. Walking this back foot out to come into our triangle pose. Arms reach out, left hand down, right hand up. Imagining there's a wall behind you to help open through the chest and keep the neck nice and long. On your inhale, lifting all the way up nice and tall. Pivot your feet one more time. Inhale, reach up, star pose. And then bend the elbows in the knee, goddess, squat. Inhale, reach up, lengthen. And we'll step back to the top of your mat. Hands draw together and then down to the center of the chest. We're going to reach our hands down by our sides. Slowly nod your chin to your chest and roll down one vertebrae at a time, trying to go as slow as possible, creating resistance in your own body. And then pressing your hands down onto the floor. We'll step one foot back and then the other, and let's lift right up into our downward facing dog. Drawing the right leg up and back, and then bend into the knee, starting to make some circles here. And you could always do this from all fours if down dog is feeling a little bit too much. Reverse the direction of your circles. And then lengthen out through your leg. Draw your knee towards your nose And then draw your right knee towards the right wrist. We're going to be going into pigeon pose here. So you have your right knee towards your right wrist, and your heel is going to be right over your hip of your opposite hip. And then you can slowly walk yourself down here, and you should be feeling the stretch through the outside of your right hip. If you start to feel any sensation through your knee, or you start to feel any numbness or tingling through the leg, you can take a supine figure 4 instead of pigeon. And it's the same pose, it's just you don't have as much pressure from gravity. So finding wherever you'd like to be, and then with every exhale, feel like you're just releasing a layer of something, and finding somewhere to deepen into the floor a little bit more. So noticing if you might be holding tension through your jaw or through your shoulders, or noticing if you're pushing with your hands and holding the floor away from you. And if you're on your back, let's rock up to seated. And if you're in pigeon, slowly start to walk your hands back underneath your shoulders, pressing your palms into the floor. We'll tuck the left toes under and then lift the right leg back and up through our 3-legged dog, just maybe wiggling out through that foot, getting the blood flowing through the side. Setting the right leg down, left leg lifts up towards the ceiling. Bending into the knee and starting to make your circles here, thinking of circling just at the hip. And again, you can do this from the all fours position. Reversing the direction of your circles. And then reach your left leg long behind you. Draw your knee in towards your nose, and then reach the left knee towards the left wrist, and your right heel is going to come over towards the right hip. And you can slowly start to walk yourself out and down here. And if you feel any pain pinching in the knee on this side, or start to feel numbness or tingling as you hold, you can always come down onto your back. And then making your breath your focus. And for different people, different things are harder. And I think for most people, it's harder to be still in a pose and get your mind to not wander, because that's kind of when all these other things start to pop up and we kind of like trail off and leave our bodies. So really trying to breathe into and feel like you're almost leaning into any physical discomfort that you're feeling. And taking one more deep breath, seeing where else you can let go. And then if you're on your back, let's rock up to seated. If you're in your forward pigeon, we'll just walk the hands back underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, lift back into our 3-legged dog, reaching your left leg long behind you. And then stepping the foot down, so we're in our all 4 paws on the ground, down dog. And we're going to hop through and forward to a seated position. So we have different options. You can bend your knees and hop forward. If hopping isn't really for you today, you can kind of just slide one knee forward and then the other, however you end up seated at the top of your mat. We're going to go into a Baddha Konasana, or butterfly position. So you'll have the soles of your feet together, knees out to the sides. And I want you to try and find as much length through your low back as you can. So for some people that might mean stepping the heels further away from the body. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, fold forward and down. And with every exhale, maybe thinking of the word surrender and just letting go through the back of your neck, through your shoulders, releasing the knees out to the side. Let's walk our hands a little bit over towards our left hand side. Maybe taking your right hand to stack over your left here. And trying to press down through your right sit bone. So your knees aren't twisting at all. The knees should stay level as much as you can. So we're really just feeling a stretch through the side of the ribs. And then walk back through center and over to the right side. So now stacking your left hand over your right hand. And then we'll walk back to center. Walk the hands in and lift up, drawing your knees together. And make sure you have some space behind you on your mat. You can do this one with bent or straight legs. I would recommend bent legs if your hamstrings are tight or your low back is sensitive. We'll reach our hands out and away, draw your chin in towards your chest, and then slowly roll down one bone at a time. And just when your body wants to speed up, that's when I want you to slow down even more until you're all the way on your mat. And readjust as you need to, and notice your head and your neck here. So most of us have probably been spending a little bit more time sitting, maybe even than we normally do. So think about, it's almost like you can even physically pick your head up and think chin to chest, and so you're lengthening out through the back of your neck. And then set your head back down and feel how your chin almost feels like it's like pushing into your neck, but that'll really help to lengthen out through the back of the neck, and then also pull the shoulders down and broaden across the collarbone. So anytime you're laying down, you can get this little extra stretch through your neck. Then we'll hug the right knee in towards the chest, left leg reaches out long, flexing through your left foot, having the toes pointing up towards the ceiling. And then maybe lengthening out through your right leg. If you like, you can grab behind the thigh, behind the calf, or towards the foot. If you have like a strap or a towel or something that you want to use, you can use that as well. And let's take the leg across the body. So we're taking the right leg over to the left side. The leg can be straight or the knee can be bent. That's up to you. And you're turning your head to look towards your right fingers. And this right hip is going to lift off of the floor, but you want your shoulders to be grounded as much as possible. And then we'll draw the knee back to center, give it a little hug in towards the body and switch sides. So right leg reaches long, left knee draws in, thinking about the length through the back of the neck, the shoulders down and open out to the side, flexing through your right foot so we feel even more opening through the hip flexors on the right side. And then if you'd like to straighten the leg, working on the hamstrings, you can grab up for the calf, the foot, behind the thigh, and feeling an opposition here of your leg is pushing into your hands, but your shoulder blades are still drawing down and back, so you're even getting a little bit of a stretch through the upper body as well. And then take the leg across the body so it can be straight or the knee can be bent. Reaching your left hand out, turning to look towards your left hand. Thinking of both shoulders being grounded. On an inhale, draw the leg back to center. Give it a little hug in. And then let's bring both legs together in towards the chest and rock from side to side. Moving into happy baby, so you can reach for your big toes, the outer edges of your feet, inner edges, whatever works for you. Think of drawing your knees down beside your body and the soles of the feet are facing up towards the ceiling. You can rock a little bit from side to side here. Maybe straightening out through one leg and then the other, getting one final stretch through the hips. And if you found that side lunge variation to be kind of uncomfortable or challenging, this is basically the same shape with the body, just with less pressure. And then we'll bring the knees in together. You could set the feet down and slowly start to lengthen the legs out. If you feel like you need to move in any other way, if you need one last type of stretch or any sort of readjustment you need to make before final relaxation, go ahead and take any movements you need to. And then when you're ready, maybe one last time, I always like to lift up and make sure my shoulder blades are down and open, and then allow the palms to face up. And closing your eyes. And feeling your body sinking and melting into the ground with each breath. And maybe going back to that sort of imagery of water, feeling like everything is flowing through you with ease, because kind of when water gets its power is when we try and stop it when there's resistance. If you just continue to let everything flow, there's this ease, this grace to the movement of the water. We'll slowly start to bring the awareness back to the body. And just by taking some deeper breaths, maybe allowing for small movements of the fingers or the toes. A nice deep inhale, reaching your arms long overhead, stretching out from your fingers to your toes. And then hugging the knees in towards the chest. You can roll over onto whichever side you like. And gently, carefully helping yourself up to a comfortable seated position. We'll draw the palms together at the center of the chest, bowing our heads slightly in gratitude to ourselves and to each other for taking the time to practice together. The light within me honors the light in each one of you. Namaste.